Yeah.
All right. Let me get my announcements here. Quick question for the group. Are these words behind me backwards like they are on my screen?
No, they're okay.
Ah, cool. Well, if you don't recognize the picture, this is the opening shot of the club's web page that Rick Mosley keeps up for us and does a great job with. And I thought this was a handy little background for tonight. Quick question. Bob had mentioned that he might have some guests on this evening. Bob, do you see that your guests have made it on?
I don't see that they are. Lonnie, you'll recognize the names. Steve Brooks is probably going to join us today, and Bill Clark is going to probably join us today. They're big Lake Highland sports fans, so they're interested to see what Lonnie has to tell us.
Yeah, we'll look for them, and if I get a chance to recognize them before the meeting's over, I will do that, Bob. Thank you very much. All right, announcements. First up, I'm going to kick this over to Nathan Trafone to give us an update on the benefit concert, which has now been canceled, and auction.
Good evening, Lake Highlands. So, Jimmy, your favorite benefit concert chair is enjoying the beaches of Rhode Island. So I'll be giving a brief update. But there are 3 important dates to remember. Number 1, Sunday, August 9th. That's the start of the silent auction. So the silent auction will open around noon on Sunday, August 9th. The second date that's important is the silent auction will conclude Friday evening, probably around 8 p.m., August 14th. So we got August 9th to start, August 14th to end the silent auction, and then Saturday, August 15th, that at about 8 p.m. that night, we'll do the live auction. So you guys will be getting emails from the club with links to, we're probably going to be doing Zoom meetings, but you'll be getting links for the silent auction and how to register for that, as well as information for the Zoom meeting for the live auction. And Chris, are you going to share the Facebook page?
Yes, it's just, I'm very technically challenged, so let me see if I can do this.
So in addition to the newsletter, we have a Facebook page, and Jimmy has assured me that if you're on Facebook and you're a member of this club, you have received an invitation to join this group or this event. If you haven't, send me a message in the chat and I'll make sure you get invited. But between this and the newsletter, you'll be able to find out all the information over the next few weeks about the auction, including we're going to be blasting out information about our sponsors to give them a shout out because they were very generous to not ask for them or to essentially give us the money knowing that the publicity will be different this year. So any information you need, newsletter, Facebook page.
Very good. Thank you, Nathan. In addition to the information about the sponsors, we'll be pushing out so I didn't do the screen share properly, I see, which you don't get to see when you're on this side of the screen. In addition to the sponsors, we'll be pushing out information about the various auction items. Like Nathan said, we've got the silent auction running for a few days, and that's going to culminate in a live virtual auction on Saturday the 15th. Jimmy and his committee have pulled together just a great roster of items for us to auction off. So plan on being there. Tell your fellow club members, tell your friends, tell your neighbors about it. Get them the information and the links so that we can get as many people online for both the silent and live virtual auctions as possible. Next on my agenda that everyone has seen, and I don't see, it's kind of the challenge of doing this on Zoom is I can't see everybody at the same time. But I don't see any of our administrators here, so we'll skip that. One thing that we talked about, we had our board meeting last week, the first board meeting for the club year, and our discussion largely focused on budget, fundraising, trying to find some health conscious community service opportunities for the club, maybe some smaller group service opportunities, and we'll be rolling out some information about those in the coming weeks and months. And then obviously our events, the auction being the first thing that we're going to do in a virtual and online format. And one of the things that we talked about kind of at the tail end of the meeting, and then I had a discussion with Michael Bailey, our program director, about kind of what we would do when we revisited the issue of doing in-person meetings versus virtual meetings, or a combination of the two. And if you check the newsletter or saw the blast email that Rick sent before the meeting, we've got a poll, a JotForm poll. This is the service that we've been using for applications and for our scholarships, and it allows us to kind of push out these poll questions electronically about what members' level of comfort would be with returning to an in-person environment, you know, where we would observe the appropriate social distancing. Obviously at the KC, that would require having a limited number of people at tables, not doing a buffet breakfast or meal, depending on what time we would meet. Wearing masks unless, you know, you're eating or having a beverage, and kind of wanted to get the club's temperature on kind of what they would want to do once the board decided, hey, maybe it's appropriate to consider going back to an in-person event. So right now we don't think we're there. You know, when we kicked off the Zoom meetings and kind of the new club year, we decided we would do these through the end of the summer and revisit the in-person meeting idea when school started back up. Obviously schools are going back initially virtually and hopefully in person at the beginning of September. And so I'm guessing that around that time we'll revisit this issue. But we kind of wanted to get everyone's temperature on it now, kind of looking forward to a time when maybe the case numbers are not trending as upward as they had been, you know, as of last week. So that poll went out. If you have already responded to the Jot form, great. If you have not, I think Rick is going to be able to throw up one of our virtual polls through the Zoom meeting. So again, if you have not responded to the Jot form poll via the newsletter or the email, if you could respond here, we'll see the responses and numbers and we'll add them to what we're seeing in the Jot form. Just trying to get as many responses to this as possible so we can make informed decisions when the time comes. So
Chris, I actually did not do a separate one because it's just math I don't want to do.
Easier to do the poll on the Jot form.
So it's in the chat. It's in the email blast and it's in the newsletter. So if you can't find it that way, then you got issues.
Yeah, if you're on the Zoom and you don't have your chat open, you can move your cursor down to the bottom of the screen, just hit the chat button and you'll see it over on the right-hand side. Rick's got a message out to everyone on the meeting with that Jot form link, and you can click that and fill that out, and that would be very helpful to us. This is a little bit out of order, but since I was kind of given the update on the board meeting, we did approve 2 new members, and I'm going to let Brent Baisden announce their names and maybe tell us a little bit about them. I don't know if they've joined the Zoom meeting or not. Brent?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I am pleased to report that the board unanimously voted in 2 new members last week. I don't see them on the Zoom, but they are Luke Altmeyer and JJ Evans. A couple things about them, just so the club gets to know them. Luke lives on McCree with his wife, Lindsay. They have 2 daughters, and they have a son arriving in September. He works for Hilton Hotels. He's active in the community. He coaches soccer for Lake Highland Soccer Association, and his family is active at White Rock Fellowship. Something interesting about Luke, he played lacrosse at Macon College in Virginia. He's from Virginia originally, and then his family moved out to Dallas when his wife came to SMU for law school. So that's Luke. A little bit about JJ. JJ lives on Windledge with his family. He works for Balfour Beatty Construction. He claims both Las Vegas and Jennings, Louisiana as his hometown. He went to LSU for undergrad before doing some graduate work at University of Houston. Also active in the community, he is a Cub Scout Cub Master. He is also a member of the Knights of Columbus. And something interesting about JJ, to golf and camping, one of the hobbies he listed is wooden boat building, which might make him the only wooden boat builder in the club. So there you go. Look for these two guys at meetings when we start getting together again. And thanks so much.
Go Tigers.
Uh-huh.
Very good. Thank you, Brent. All right. Next thing on my list, and I'm going to try this screen sharing thing again. Fingers crossed that I can do it right. Thought there was a way to just do one thing, but who knows? Gail had announced the Exchange Item of the Year at our last meeting when he gave his presidential year-end recap, and fittingly went to Rick Mosley, who has done a lot at raising the club's profile, doing a great job with the website and the newsletter that we get on every other week basis right now, but usually weekly. And Gail presented Rick with this beautiful trophy. Exquisite trophy, and so I wanted to proudly show that and just let everyone know that I'm sure Rick's real excited to have both the award and the hook and horns there. So thanks again, Rick. We appreciate all you do for the club, and enjoy your award.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Lastly, we announced last week, I'll just keep making an announcement or like 2 weeks ago, the Family Compass Golf Tournament is October 15th at Cowboys Golf Club. You can find information about that, register on the Family Compass website if you're interested in doing that. Definitely a great cause, and it's a great golf tournament. So with that, I am going to turn the meeting over to our VP of Programs, Michael Bailey, to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Chris, and good evening, Lake Highlands. This is a meeting that I think we all would prefer to be having over a nice plate of barbecue, but unfortunately that was not in the cards this year, but we're very grateful for Coach Jordan stopping by to meet with us in a virtual form. Little background on Coach Jordan. Most of y'all probably know a lot of this, but for those of you who are newer to the neighborhood, Coach Jordan's been at Lake Highlands for 5 seasons as the head coach. Before that, this is actually his second stint at Lake Highlands. He was offensive coordinator and coached the JV for a few years, from 2007 to 2010. Went up to McKinney as an offensive coordinator and assistant coach. Then took his first head coaching job up in Lone Oak before rejoining Lake Highlands in the spring of 2015. Lake Highlands has been to the playoffs each of his seasons, and each of the last 3 years has finished with an overall winning record, including last season's 8-4 finish, including a road playoff win. Coach Jordan has 3 kids. His oldest just graduated high school this past year, and he's got 2 others in high school coming up behind him. So without further ado, I will bring up Coach Jordan. Thanks for being here, Coach.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm assuming I'm unmuted. Guys, this is one of my favorite meetings of the year now, and typically we do have barbecue, and that certainly helps, but just love being with you guys, and I appreciate what you do. I thank you for all the time and effort that you put into our kids and you put into our coaches. Have eaten many a hot dog on your bill, and we appreciate that as well. This is shaping up to be, man, a crazy year, and I know you know it. We're sitting here on a Zoom meeting, and everybody's lives have been turned upside down, and your work looks different, and obviously our school system is trying to figure out the best way to go about, teaching kids and mentoring kids and getting an opportunity to build relationships. And it's different than anything that we have ever experienced before. So regardless of your experience level, there's just no precedent for this. And, I heard, talking to some coaches the other day, and whoever handles this pandemic, whoever handles this kind of phase of our life, whoever handles that the best is going to come out on top. And we're committed to that. I think our ISD has done a great job, and appreciative to have the leadership that we have in Richardson. I think that Lake Highlands in particular has incredible support, and this is proof of that. But we have people who are behind our kids. We have people who are behind our school and behind our coaches. And I think that lends itself to, our ability to have success through this. Nevertheless, it has been a difficult road, and it's going to continue to be one. And I, as we typically do, I'm going to visit with you a little bit about this season. I'm going to talk to you about some things, and it's going to sound a little different than what we normally do. Typically I've got my coordinators and my captains here. Well, guys, we haven't chosen captains yet because we didn't have spring football. And, from our perspective, from an evaluation process, at this point, we don't know who's on the JV and who's on the varsity. We don't know who's playing offense and who's playing defense. And with the latest directive from Dallas County to shut us down, that evaluation process it can't really continue. And just to give you kind of some calendar updates, we're allowed to resume in-person instruction on September 7th, and that is the next time that we're going to be able to see our kids. So other than virtual settings, so other than Zooms and things of this nature, and just phone calls and coaches reaching out and emails and, stuff like that, guys, we can't see our kids. So we don't have the opportunity to work them out. We can't have what the UIL calls skills sessions, where we get an opportunity to train them and work on just everyday fundamentals. Typically right now we would be doing some install. And there's a lot of teams across the state of Texas that are having the ability to do that. And they're having their spring ball at the end of summer. And that's what they're doing. And they're having practices every day. They're out there with their kids. They have offensive segments and defensive segments, and they're making those evaluations that are going to determine what their teams look like. But if you're in Dallas County, you don't have the opportunity to do that. So that's a bit of a stressor, just to be perfectly honest with you, on our staff. As we had a meeting today, a staff meeting with the coaches, and we said, guys, if we don't see these kids till September 7th, then we have to know. We've got to make those determinations. We have to make those decisions, because we won't have time to do it then. So we put rosters up on the board, and obviously we have relationships with our kids, and we know them, and we know what they can and cannot do, but we're not necessarily having the opportunity to let them battle for positions. We're having to choose right now, so that the meetings we have between now and then are fruitful. And when we come back, there will be some evaluation time, but not anything like what we've ever seen in the past. So just to, I'm telling you, every day is a new day, and then we're fortunate that the UIL has dropped the schedule. So it's given us the ability to begin planning. And, as a coach, or athletic coordinator, director, whatever, we're planners by nature. And we have not had, I bet you I've done 12 calendars. And every time I do a calendar, I have to wad it up and throw it in the trash. And then somebody, and then another directive from Dallas County comes out, and I have to do another calendar. And it's just one thing after another. So I've been working on putting, since, early this week, when the UIL gave us some kind of guidelines and they gave us some dates. We've been able to start putting those calendars together, and that's what we're currently doing right now. I'll talk briefly with you before we get off here about the schedule. I'll get I'm gonna kind of give you an idea of what the team looks like, from the perspective where we are right now. And then I'd love to open it up to questions, because I know, my email and phone has been blowing. At one point earlier this week, I thought, and this was shortly after the UIL, sent out the dates and the guidelines moving forward. I thought my phone had a virus. It started going off, and it was pinging and it was ringing and it wouldn't stop. And I thought, man, something went wrong, but it wasn't. It was just, everybody wants answers. And I will certainly, cover any questions that you guys have. I will try to address, every, maybe whether it's a concern or just, if you have questions, I'll try to address those. But understand, I still don't have all the answers. I know this, I love our kids, and I'm going to try to, work through the schedule as best we can. We have a incredible facility that the kids have just, they've been in it a little bit. At least the ones that come up in the summer have been in it a little bit, but they haven't had the opportunity to experience it yet. And, by this, had we not had COVID, at this point, we would have already had an open house and had you guys in there and let you walk through it. Would love to have, something to the effect of maybe an exchange club night where you guys could come out and see it and get an opportunity really to look where, at what our ISD has done, what the city of Lake Highlands has done, and then, just what we have now to provide for our kids. And it is, and this is my 26th year in coaching, and I have never seen anything like it. So it is, it's a beautiful place to go to work. I cannot wait to get our kids in there, because I know that they're going to love it. And it's going to allow us, across all sports, not just football, but across all sports, to get better. And then, you can really feel the love when you're in it, because again, I've been a lot of different places that had good booster clubs and community support and this and that, but they didn't have, this was not provided for them. So really, really neat for our kids and coaches, and for you guys. Okay. So, we talked about 2019 a little bit, and it was incredible. We had great players. They were good kids. They competed well. We won 8 ball games, won the first by-district championship in 10 years. And that was really special to me, partly because our kids got an opportunity to do that and experience that. And you guys got to experience that. But I was here 10 years ago for the last one. And I remember how special that was. That was Ricky Zorn and Desmond Rowland, and just an incredible group of players then. And they won that, that by-district championship, and then it hadn't been done since then. So this was fun for me. I had a senior that played last year, and to see his face, after when we were hosting up that trophy was really a special time for me and my family. So, and I know it was for those other kids as well. But then graduation came. And on our defense, which was arguably maybe the best defense in the Metroplex, we graduated 10 of 11 players, and they were just unbelievable. Caleb Parker, Latrell Smith, Zion Washington, Alex Maldonado. We just had so many good players on that defense, and we had we changed our defensive scheme last year, which really, benefited us, but it played well to the strengths of those players that we had. Well, those guys graduated. So we have one returning starter. He was a sophomore last year, so he'll be a junior this year. He's still an underclassman, but very, very good player. If you got the Dallas or the Dave Campbell's football magazine, he was voted to be the defensive MVP this year, District 7-6A. And so we're excited about that, excited to see what he can do. But we are really looking to kind of get behind the experience that he has and the ability that he has to make plays. Offensively, we return 4 starters, and really it's 3. And then we've got a player that split some time on the offense. So the rest of those guys, graduated. We do have Mitch Colson back, and Mitch is an exciting player, has the ability to really change the outlook of a game. He's gritty. He's got an incredible skill set. His football IQ is through the roof, and he's going to be a senior for us this year, and we're excited to see what he can do. But we've got some good young players around him, that we're going to be able to put in there. And I'm hoping I was hoping that through spring football, we would be in a completely different place right now. But the idea is that we're going to be able to use a player like Mitch in some different ways. We've got another good young quarterback behind him that can come in and get some reps. We've got some good young receivers. Christian Bernal is coming back as a starter from last year, and we think that he's, ready to have just a great senior season. Offensive line wise, we have 2 guys that are coming back as starters and 1 that split time. And so that experience is going to help us. We are going to look different. We're not as big as we were last year. We had big defensive line. We had a big offensive line, and that kind of helped us dictate the football game or the flow of the game. We could control the clock. We could control the line of scrimmage. We played great defense. We had good special teams. And so that kind of molded that team into what it was. As you go back to the couple of years before that with Jackson Thompson and those guys, we were spreading the ball around and slinging it and chasing the scoreboard to some extent. We were going to put as many points up as we could. Well, last year's philosophy was a little bit different, and it played to our players' strength. So, this year we hope to be able to do a little bit of both. We've got to come in and rebuild that defense. Coach Waller, Stephen Waller, was our defensive coordinator last year, and he has retired. So we've moved Anthony Pascuzzi up to be our defensive coordinator. I wish that he was here tonight, or I wish that we were at backcountry so that he could eat some barbecue and you could watch that, and then let him speak to you a little bit. He is high energy. The kids absolutely love Coach Pascuzzi, and I think that he's going to do an incredible job. And then Coach Corey Campbell is our offensive coordinator. And one of the things that is, and I've coached offense for a long time, and it's impressive to me to watch a guy that can do a little bit of both. So he's not, Corey's not a guy that's pigeonholed into one type of offense. And I think that's something that we showed the ability to do last year. Since we've been here, we've played a 4-3 defense and a 3-4 defense, and now we've had a spread offense, and then more of a kind of control the line of scrimmage and run the ball offense. And we're hoping that we can mesh those things together this year. But what happened, last year with that group, and I'm telling you, it was fun from day one until the end. But we were able to reset the bar. And I know that's what you want, and that's what I've wanted since I walked in the doors here, but we want to raise the bar. And that happened last year, if you want to build winning traditions, you've got to win. And I know that we've got a rich history at Lake Highlands, and we want to get back to that. And I think our kids understand that. It's so unfortunate that we are in this pandemic state where we don't get to see those guys every day and continue to kind of nurture that as we move forward into the season. But I know that that's what our kids want, that's what our coaches want, and we completely understand that that's what our community wants. So that is the expectation. I was talking to the kids before we broke for spring break, and it's not, we're looking at, it will not be a success for us unless we win, 13 plus games. And so that's what we want. That's what I want our kids thinking. Now that will change a little bit with this schedule, and I'll talk to you about that as well. But, the schedules are going to look a little bit different than what they did before. But that's just to give you kind of an idea of where we are and what we're looking at. Okay, so I talked about normally I would have my captains here. We do not have captains at this point. So I've got to figure that out. Once we come back on September 7th, how we're going to go about that process of determining who those captains are going to be. Schedules. I'd pushed a schedule out in the spring, and our first game was Mesquite Poteet. And that game we lost. Looking at the calendar that the UIL put out, and I don't know how much you guys have looked at that, but they dropped the dates for us. A September 7th start date. Well, we don't start school in person until September 8th in Richardson ISD, so we can't start until September 8th. And that was one of the UIL stipulations, is that you cannot work your kids out until you're back in person at school. Well, most schools are starting on the 7th. We're starting on the 8th. So that's when our first day of practice will be. And so one of the other stipulations that the UIL put out is that if your county is shut down, then you can't work your kids out. But if your county is not shut down, then you can continue to work out. So at this point, if you're in Collin County, if you go to Plano or Allen or McKinney, or, if you're up there in Collin County, they worked out every day this week, and they'll work out again tomorrow. So they've had not only strength and conditioning, but they had an hour of skills training and, practice, whether they're putting their progressions in or, whatever that is. And I don't know how they're doing. I don't know if they're doing 30 minutes of offense and 30 minutes of defense, or offensive days and defensive days, but I'm just telling you, they've got footballs out and coaches have whistles and they're working to get better. We can't do that. And then when you look at the calendar on August 3rd, which was supposed to be our start date for football. That's when we were planning to start our two-a-days on August 3rd. Well, on August 3rd, if you are in a county that is not shut down, you get to go to 2 hours a day of skills training, which guys is practice. So on August the 3rd, Plano East, McKinney, Allen, they're going to get to do strength and conditioning and work their kids out. And then they're going to go have a 2-hour practice, which is typically what we would do, in our two-a-day time. But being in Dallas County, we can't do that. And so there's the concern and the stress that's on our coaching staff. And I don't want to belabor that, but I want to make sure that you understand the discrepancy between the different counties in the Metroplex right now. These guys are all going to have to go play each other. And there are the playing field at this point is not level. And that's upsetting to me and it's frustrating to me, but there's not much I can do about it. I can only control the things that are controllable to me. I can only, I have to be where my feet are, and this is the situation we've been given. So we have to find other ways to get through to our kids, and we have to find other ways to get better. And that's what we're looking at doing. It just obviously can't be in person. So on September 8th, when school starts, we will get to be with our kids for the first time from September 8th. So that's a Tuesday. That week, the UIL has said we can only have strength and conditioning. And I think that was a safety component. We are not allowed to practice football. We're not allowed to put helmets on them. We're not allowed to do those things. Strength and conditioning, that first week is all we can do. And then the next week, starting on the 14th, will be our first actual practice. That's when we'll begin our 5-day acclimation period for UIL. So we can't have contact that week, but we can practice. So we can put in plays and work kids out and fundamental drills, that sort of thing. And then the week of, or I think it's Thursday, the 24th, we will be able to actually have a scrimmage and compete against somebody else. And so that's our timeline. Now, if you were in Collin County, then you are playing a game on the 24th. We will be scrimmaging. And again, just keeping in mind that they will be playing a game on the 24th with an 11-week head start. And I say this because my non-district schedule is all Collin County schools. It's frustrating, and I like those guys up there, but it's frustrating to me. We're going to, and we're, the expectation is, and please don't misunderstand this, we're going to go in and we're going to win, but I've got to figure out how to take those 14 days of practice and outdo what Plano East and Plano High School have done in 11 weeks. And that's the plan. You know, we're going to do it, and we're going to beat Plano East, and we're going to beat Plano, and then we have a bye week, and then we'll start our district schedule. The fortunate thing is that our district, which is going to determine playoffs, our district is all in Dallas County, so they're on a level playing field. They've had just as much or lack thereof of practice than we've had. But so in our first district ball game, let me look. I'm still in the process of updating the calendar, but it will be on October 23rd. And so, and I'm sure you guys have looked at those calendars, but guys, the playoffs are going to be in December this year. You know, if you're playing for a state championship, you'll be playing in January. So the whole season has been pushed 5 weeks. And so that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Okay. Start dates. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I've missed before we kind of open it up to questions. I know some of this is negative, but really, and that's not what that's not what I intend, or that wasn't the intent of this. I just want you to kind of wrap your heads around where we are, and understand that, you know, our kids are going to need support. And that's what we have been talking about as a coaching staff. Typically we're with them, and we can read their body language, and we can, we can pick them up when they're down and celebrate their victories and do those things. Well, right now there's this abyss between us. You know, coaching virtually has been, while I think it's really challenged us, and in the spring it was good. But at some point it becomes difficult, and we start to, as adults, start to worry about, how effective are we being, because we can't see, we're not seeing the benefits of our labor. And I cannot wait to put a whistle around my neck and get back around kids. And that's where I want to be. And we still have some time before we get there. But from your perspective as community members and supporters of Lake Highlands High School, these kids, this is personal to me, not just because I'm the coach at Lake Highlands, but I have a son that's going to be a senior. And we have been just fretting over whether or not this season was going to be played. Was my son going to get to play his senior year? And we were thrilled when the UIL came out, and thank goodness that the UIL has been pushing to continue to play. But when the dates came out, as a family, it was a huge relief. And I don't care about the differences in your ability to practice. I just want to play. I want the kids of Lake Highlands to be able to play and show what they can do. And as you know, a lot of our kids wrap up, maybe too much, but they wrap their identity around sports, volleyball, cross country, football, and it may be offset a little bit, maybe too much. They wrap their identity up in that, but they're passionate about it. And when you take, someone's passion away from them, you say you can't do that anymore. Even our kids have been battling depression. And so I want to get them back. I want to get them on the playing field. I want to get them around their coaches. I want to get them around their teammates, and we'll do it safely, and we'll do it, we'll social distance and do all of those things, but I want to get them together, because that's where kids need to be. And that's where the kids of Lake Highlands, need to be. So that's kind of, I know this is the oddest of all your years as a Lake Highlands Exchange Club. This is maybe the worst presentation from a head football coach, and I hate that we're doing it, but I just want to throw some facts at you. We did have strength and conditioning at the beginning of summer, and we went up right until just a couple of weeks ago. And guys, it was incredible. When we first started this after the Corona break, right there at spring break, and we missed the the spring sports seasons, and the kids couldn't go back to school. Well, when we opened up strength and conditioning, because the UIL said so, and Dallas County hadn't shut down at that point, our numbers were through the roof. The kids wanted to get out so bad, and maybe the parents wanted them out too. I don't know. But our junior high numbers were incredible. Our girls' numbers were incredible. Our football numbers are the best I've ever seen them. And that was, just excitement. So the ebbs and flows of this summer have been just crazy. But and I want to be able to answer your questions, because I know that there's probably a bunch of them. But please know this: we love our kids. We are going to compete at a high level. We're going to get them ready. It's a process like anything else. And we, it's September 7th. That's kind of our kickoff date. The coaches right now, we worked all week, and we'll be up there again tomorrow. We're getting everything ready so that when they show up, we're going to shove football right down their throats, and we're going to get going just as fast as we can. And guys, by September 24th, when we go play, that'll be a scrimmage against Mesquite. That's a huge evaluation time for us, but we'll be ready for that. And then we play Plano East on the 14th. We play, make sure my dates are right here. I'm sorry. We play Plano East on October 2nd, and we play Plano High School on October 9th. And we're going to be ready for those games. Our kids, I believe in them. And again, that bar has been raised, and I know that they don't want to let you down. Much less do they want to let themselves down. So that's where we're headed. If I have not talked about our new district, I'm sure you guys have had an opportunity to look at that, but we're in 7-6A now. So we're in with the Irving schools, and we're in with Jesuit High School. Our schedule, the order of it, we play Irving MacArthur in the first week of district. We play Jesuit the second week of district, and then we play Pierce. And that's, I think, important because our district is front loaded. There's a lot of really good teams right there at the beginning of district. So we really don't have a choice but to get good fast. And then I don't know if you've heard, but Jesuit is a private school, and the Dallas County Diocese or the Catholic Diocese of Dallas has decided that they don't need to be shut down, and that Dallas County can't tell them to do that. So Jesuit is in the same category as the Collin County schools. They're working out. They're getting ready, and they will be 11 weeks ahead of us. But I don't care. We're gonna beat Jesuit High School. That's gonna happen. Okay. Then we've got Pierce, then Berkner, and then we have Nimitz. Irving Nimitz, Richardson High School, and then we finish off the year with the Irving Tigers. That will be December 4th. So that's district certification is on December 5th, I believe, and then we start by district the week after that. So we'll be in the second week of December when we play our first playoff game. I told the coaches the other day I'm going to have to raise some money. The one thing that I have not bought for our coaches is jackets. So I'm going to have to go buy some playoff jackets so that our coaches are able to coach and stay warm. But how fun is that? That's exciting. So we're looking forward to it. Okay, I've talked way too much. Michael, I'll turn it back over to you. And then if y'all want to ask questions or whatever it is you need, I'm here for you.
Great. I think with the size of the group tonight, I think we can probably ask questions just by unmuting, or if somebody wants to submit a question as it pops up to you, just send it into the chat and we can ask it from there. I see a while back, Will wrote in a question: how many training days would you like to have before game day? So, or maybe how many days of practice would you normally have before?
Well,
so Coach, since you don't get your 11 weeks, since you're behind, you get your kids day one. How many? Obviously you would have rather have had 11 weeks. Obviously you'd rather have had that, but
So this is unique also. These practice times that schools are getting right now are really because of the pandemic. So we've never had in July, I've never had 2 hours to work out with my kids. That's never happened before. The original plan was, before the pandemic hit, is that we were going to start practice on August 3rd. And I don't have my whole calendar, but we were going to start on August 3rd, and then we were going to scrimmage on the 24th. Okay, so that was no, it wasn't the 24th. Well, I don't even have my original calendar with me, but it was no, it was still in August. So we were going to get really 2 weeks. You were going to get 2 weeks play a scrimmage, and then you play a game. So 3 weeks. And that was, but the deal was everybody had those 3 weeks. And now it's just, and it is what it is. I mean, there's not anything we can do about it. And I'm so fortunate that Mitch Colson's going to get to score touchdowns, and that Jeremiah Richards is going to get to, intercept footballs and sack quarterbacks, and that Andy Jordan is going to get to experience Friday Night Lights in whatever capacity that looks like. I care, but I don't care. I'm gonna have a smile on my face every day. We're not going to get, the typical 3 weeks that we would get, but that's okay. We're going to go in and get this done. Also, we usually start prior to school beginning, and that allows, so there's a different set of rules when school's not in session, and as far as practice goes. Well, our kids will be not only in school, but they will have finished up a virtual learning time, and now they're going to have to choose whether or not in person. And we're still trying to wrap our heads around that as coaches. If a kid decides that he wants to do virtual learning after in person has started, how are we going to get him to practices? How are we going to make sure he's there on time? Because pandemic or not, if we play football, you have to be at practice to play the game. So we have to get them there, and we don't know how many of those situations we're going to be dealing with, but there are things that we're talking through. Nevertheless, 3 weeks, is what normally everyone would have. This year is just a little bit different, and I don't want to. Again, the UIL is my governing body, and I'm loyal to them, and I believe in them, and they have done the very best they can handling this. It just doesn't all line up, but that's okay. That's okay. All right. I hope I answered that for you, Will.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet.
Coach, can you talk about the effects that the pandemic is having on recruiting, the recruiting calendar, and then, if there's any of your current guys that are getting attention from college recruiters or to get that attention?
Well, it's certainly different. And it's, in the spring, I would see anywhere, in a normal spring, I would see anywhere from, say, 5 to 10 recruiters a day. They would be in my office. They would come, whether they came in the morning or they came during lunchtime, but they would come by and they would see me and we'd sit down. And I pull kids out of class all spring, so they can come visit with these recruiters. And then they have an opportunity to come back and watch the kids in spring football, at our practices. And so all that died. And the UIL, or not UIL, but the NCAA has made some changes that allow, there's some virtual recruiting going on, but that in-person stuff, and that being able to see kids and eyeball kids. So how tall are you? How fast are you? Those types of things were lost. And so on our end, it's been a really busy summer for me, because I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone a lot, and I'm calling people, and really, even from our kids' standpoint, some of the precipice is on them, because they've got to get a list to me. And I've told them, look, if you want to play, if you're going to be a senior and you want to play, I need a list of your schools. And then I have to some extent, determine, okay, can you play at that school? But we try to narrow that list down, and then we reach out to those schools. We put highlights films together for them. The tough ones are these kids that were on JV last year that do not have varsity video at this time. So you really can't put, you can't put that highlight tape together. And it has not been the same. but it has not been a disaster. I mean, you know, we've reached out for a lot of our kids that are more of the high profile. We'll take Mitch Colson, for example. I bet I've talked to, you know, 35 or 40 colleges for him this summer, and we've tried to create visits for him where he can go see them. We've pushed tape out so that people can see that tape. And I've visited with a lot of coaches just about, hey, how is this affecting you? Because from an NCAA standpoint, you know, that's your job, is to go find the best kids that fit your system, and they're having to do it. And it was really, you know, kind of eye-opening when these guys are telling me, hey, we have to kind of do it blindly. You know, we're offering kids that we normally would not have offered without a campus visit or coming to a camp. You know, that's another thing. The summer camps have been shut down, so there's not really any place for these kids to go and get looked at. All of that being said, you know, the NCAA will adjust. They still have to field teams. It's a crazy year, but they're going to need to be able to compete next year and the year after that. So they're going to find them, and they're looking for them. Just on another note there, SAT and ACTs have made it difficult because we can't get our kids in to take those tests, you know, because of those sites have been shut down. And, you know, but the NCAA addressed that for our seniors that left in the spring. They gave them waivers and said, okay, you're not going to have, you know, a minimum ACT score or a minimum SAT score, and the NCAA will work that out. But I know that for eligibility purposes in the future, they're eventually going to have to change that. But we need the pandemic to we need that curve to flatten so we can open sites.
Great. We've got a question in the chat about the use of the MAC. Obviously, you're going to be able to use it for a lot of great things for football. Can you talk about some of the other sports and activities that are going to be taking advantage of the new facility?
Well, I really think that every program is going to be able to take advantage of it. You know, one of the we're working out some scheduling things right now. You know, our day is going to look different than it has in the past, and so I have a meeting tomorrow with some of my coaches and administrators to figure out how are we going to schedule all of our people. But so that it's not just about the MAC, it's about gym space, it's about field availability. You know, there's only so much space at Lake Highlands, and if you put too many programs, you know, in the same block of time, then you don't have that space available, and we're right back to where we were before we had a MAC. So we need to get creative in that, and there's going to be some tough conversations with some of the things that have come out from the district, which are good things and they're good for us, but we have to grow. And so as we do that, you know, we're going to have some conversations within the next couple of weeks with some of our programs about where do we need to move you so that you have availability of these facilities that we have. You know, right when Judge Jenkins came out and shut everything down again, we were supposed to have our cheer clinic. And we had a whole week, I believe it was a whole week, where these cheer girls were going to come out and have an opportunity to be clinicked and learn routines and do those things. And so I brought Alan Kirby in, who is our cheer sponsor, and I was able, you know, we kind of train everybody that comes in there, say, look, this is our new facility. You know, here's how you get in, here's the light switch, here's how you secure it. I mean, just all of the things that go into being in there, which typically we would have been able to do last spring, but we haven't. So, you know, as we schedule it, we've got to have little trainings as well. And we were excited about that. We were excited about having another group to be able to come in there and do it. You know, you look at strength and conditioning that we were able to have for a few weeks before it was shut down. And we had almost every program, you know, recognized in there, and they were in the indoor on the turf. They were in the new state-of-the-art weight room. I mean, they had availability of all that. So from a strength and conditioning standpoint, every kid that comes through our building from an athletic standpoint is going to be able to use that. You know, in season, I was telling my coaches as we try to figure out what this schedule looks like, my plan is to be outside as a football team. We're going to be outside Monday and Tuesday. So we'll be on, whether that's on the B field or at the stadium, but Monday and Tuesday we'll be outside. Wednesday and Thursday, we would like to come inside because the structure of practice changes a little bit and allows us to be able to do that. But that way my kids get to experience both. And so Monday and Tuesday when I'm out, that means that the soccer teams and the baseball teams, we'll work a rotation with that. But I don't see any, I mean, even your indoor sports are going to take advantage or be able to take advantage of the weight room and just the from a weather standpoint, the availability of that field to work on, whether it's plyometrics or change of direction or explosiveness, whatever that is. But our outdoor sports, are going to be on, I think, a pretty healthy rotation, and it'll be, good for everybody.
Maybe one or two more before we let Coach Jordan go.
Guys, I've got no place to be. I mean, unless you have barbecue somewhere. My wife's, I asked her, and she said she had no backcountry in here for me. So.
Hey, Coach Jordan, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, I think it came through tonight. Even if you don't win a game this year, God forbid, I am very encouraged about the young men in your care, and they're going to learn something this year one way or the other. I know they're going to go undefeated, but I'm just going to throw that out there.
We're going to win some games. That's going to
The update I would like is about one of your incredible seniors last year who received an award from this club based on his character, and that's one Nate Jordan. I'd like to know what's going on with him and what's happening with that.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, Nate's doing great. He put on the COVID-19. He put on it, somewhere between 15 and 19 pounds since school's been out. He is getting ready for college and excited about that. He's had some, and I'll say the spring was hard, and it was hard for, I'm sure, all of our seniors, but not being around his friends and being in quarantine and all of those things, my heart really kind of sank for Nate and his senior year and missing his prom and missing, and we did graduation. We had the graduation at the stadium, and that was awesome. But we did it long enough, and then finally he really turned the corner, and he's excited about college, and he's working again. The place he works finally opened back up, so he's out, he's working, man, he's just doing great. We love him, and I thank you guys for taking the time to appreciate him the way you did.
Hey, Coach, your favorite board member here.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey,
don't ask me any hard questions.
There's no questions, just a comment. So obviously you've covered some of the inequity that is going on in your world with different rules within the UIL for different schools, and certainly the unfortunate situation of our Attorney General getting involved and ruling that if you're a religious school, apparently you have a different immunity to the virus than our public schools do. But I just want to say I appreciate your leadership, certainly over the last 5 years for this program, but the schools, the kids that are in your care, to Gail's point this year, are going to learn a lot under your leadership, and we'll never forget this season regardless of what happens. So appreciate that you are where you are at this point in Lake Highlands, and that you're leading these kids through what's going to be a challenging time and a challenging year, and thankful that you're the one doing it. So I appreciate all you're doing.
That's very kind, and I appreciate that. And I'll say this, as a leader, I can see the opportunities, as I know that you can, and even the Exchange Club as a group. There are opportunities out here really to teach our kids. I mean, there are lessons to be learned from this, and And I'm excited to be in a position to teach these kids through this and to help them through it and to mentor them through it. And man, I think we're going to attack it, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be, there's times when I'm upset about the inequities, and then there's times when I'm excited about that challenge. Okay, you want to put us, you want to start us way back here. Okay, I'm fine with that. Let us show you what Lake Highlands is all about, and that's the approach that the coaches and the kids are going to take. So, Justin, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for your leadership.
All right, last call for questions.
Hey, I'll ask one. Hey, Coach, I have graduated out as far as my own kids go, but long before she was there and long after she's now gone from the high school, I'm a ticket holder, season ticket holder. So what are you hearing, expecting as it relates to people coming to stadiums and what that may look like?
Yeah. Okay. So, Greg, I don't really have the answer to that. I know that when this first started, and there started to be some shutdowns, sports were canceled, basketball championships canceled, all of that, that the UIL had made a decision to equip or to approve having high school stadiums equipped for live streaming. And so I know that we've made, we have moved in that direction of equipping our stadiums to be able to do that. Now, why would they do that? In the event that we can't have fans in the stands, so that there's a venue or there's a way for people to watch that. I don't know that there's not going to be people in there. I really don't. We're looking at, I say we, the UIL, is looking at it, and this may be a county by county thing as well, Greg, but they're looking at capacities for stadiums. I saw some things on Twitter today where there were people arguing about what the capacity for certain stadiums were. So this is a big thing. And I hope that we're able to put people in the stands, but I just don't have that information at this time. From a season ticket standpoint, again, it's not really something that I have a lot of working knowledge of, or I don't work in that realm, but I have talked to them, and bottom line is we're on hold right now until we have a set of rules, until we have some parameters where we can make decisions. And it was the same thing 2 weeks ago from a football standpoint. I couldn't give calendar dates, and I couldn't do these things. Everything, I was kind of pulling out of the air and saying, okay, well, if it turns out this way, I'll do it like this. And I think this is really no different. We're just kind of, Leslie and Kevin and the athletic department are waiting to see, okay, are they going to let fans in the stands? And if they are, then and they tell us kind of how much or how many people are going to be there, then we'll make that plan and get that out to you. I know that they will honor our season ticket people. And, I don't think anybody's going to, and I know that's a fear for some people that have had them for, 30 years. They're fearing that they might lose. And that's not going to happen. I mean, we'll take care of you in that regard. But whether or not everybody can come to the stadium and watch the games, I don't know. And Greg, one of those things that, this was a conversation I had just the other day is, okay, we have this incredible community, and nobody sells tickets like Lake Highlands does in our ISD, right? We're going to sell this thing out, and we do every year and have for however many years. Well, if we do that, we'll sell all those season tickets, and those tickets are out there. And then we have whatever the capacity is that we're given, right? The load capacity of the stadium, maybe you can have 25% or 50% or whatever it is. Well, if we get to the point where we have too many season tickets out, and then we can't let parents in because they're not season ticket holders, right? And so just so you know, and there's been no decisions made on anything, but those are things that are in conversation. And we want to take care of our kids first, and then it's going to go right. to parents, and then those staunch supporters of Lake Highlands. So again, I don't know how long I talked, maybe 5 minutes, and I gave you no answers. So there you go.
And I knew we don't have an absolute. I was just curious if you were hearing stuff through the grapevine or whatever.
Well, nothing but speculation. And it's just, it's kind of like being on social media. One guy will say one thing, another guy will say another, until the UIL pushes it out, or until Clay Jenkins pushes something out that we have numbers. It's just hard for us to say at this moment.
Hey, Coach, what is the UIL going to push out rules as far as, the kids' social distancing or sanitation or sanitizing? I mean, how do you do that in a locker room? Last time I was in a locker room, it was pretty difficult to do. So, have y'all thought through how y'all going to try to make that work?
We have thought about thinking through that. We've had conversations about how difficult that will look. The UIL opened up locker rooms several weeks ago. When they said we could have, skills trainings with our kids, they said, okay, at this point you can open up locker rooms. And for Richardson ISD, we had done a great job. And I'm telling you, I'm so proud of our coaches in our district for the way that we handled strength and conditioning, from a mask standpoint to cleanliness to sanitation, social distancing. I think we did a super job. So just to kind of piggyback on that, we had kids in our care 4 days a week from 7:30 in the morning until noon or 1 o'clock roughly, 4 days a week. And we did it for about 6 weeks. And guess what? We didn't have a spike. We didn't see the COVID virus passing through our kids and creating a hot spot at Lake Highlands. And I think that has a lot to do with the UIL's guidelines that they pushed out, and then our willingness and ability to follow those guidelines. And so we're just really proud of everybody in that regard. And I know that our district has done a good job of, when we did have something, come up, working with the health department and Health and Human Services, they helped us kind of guide us through those things. But, we've got, and the district has provided some electrostatic cleaners that have been, I think they've done a really good job. I mean, we were able to clean the weight room after every group left. We could go in and pretty quickly we could clean the weight room. We have hand sanitizers everywhere. We've got, we clean all the weights and all of those things. But now it was very labor intensive, right? And things moved a lot slower. And it was kind of hard for us to get used to that. Athletics is so much about a sense of urgency. And our sense of urgency had to be around social distancing and had to be around sanitation. And so it was hard to kind of find your place as a coach in all of that. Nevertheless, we did it, and I think we did a good job of it. When it came to those locker rooms opening up, we just said, no, we're not ready for that. And we are going to have to sit down. And so to your point, I was talking to my coaches the other day. Here are things that we need to visit about, right? When we open these locker rooms up, I'm going to have to station, more than likely, a coach in there masked to make sure that he can monitor the social distancing of the kid. I don't know if you've watched kids in this pandemic environment, but if they are not with an adult that is helping them social distance, they're not social distancing. So we have to be present really everywhere they are. And that's on my end, just to logistically make sure that I've organized my coaches and that we're where we're supposed to be. You think about showers. How long is this going to take? How many people can I have in a locker room? We've talked about busing. If I can have one kid to a seat on a bus, how are we going to transport kids from school to a game or the game back to school? There's just, tomorrow morning I have a meeting at 9, and there's a lot of things in that meeting. We're meeting with District 768. So all the Irving schools and Jesuit and our coaches. And one of the topics on the list is, are we going to shake hands after a game? I mean, when we finish a game, right? And we beat Jesuit. They may not want to shake our hands, but when we line up on the 50-yard line, are we going to shake hands when we walk across the field? And it was just, you know, it just amazes you at the things that you haven't thought about. And how are we going to do what we've always done, but we have to do we have to do it differently. And so that, yeah, again, I can't answer your question, but we are certainly aware of it. And we'll whatever that is, we'll have it worked out. If we have to stagger it or stagger practices or whatever we have to do, we'll figure it out as best we can.
Very good. Coach Jordan, thank you very much. You know, even before tonight, no one can question your commitment to the kids, to the school, to the community. We really appreciate all your hard work and effort. You know, and now we've got no questions about your commitment to the club because, you know, you're here at almost 8:30 after an hour and a half meeting, and we haven't even given you any barbecue. So we very much appreciate that.
I did. I wouldn't have stayed this long, but Bob really helped me out with some tax stuff and you know, and I was going to say, if Bob's still here, you know, I'm a little bit conflicted because I did contest my taxes. And so I had to take pictures and turn all that in and show just how terrible my house is that I live in. And then I turned around when the interest rates dropped and I refied it and I had it appraised and I had to show them how awesome it was, all the new stuff that was in it. So just a little duplicity there. But that little tutorial Bob gave me was good. I was taking notes. I'm ready.
We're all about the value add here at the Exchange Club. But thank you again. I thought your comment in response to Justin's comment, you know, where you said you're you know, at times frustrated and upset about the inequity of the situation, which is so obvious, painfully obvious, and we hate that for you. But at the same time, super excited. And I thought that comment really encapsulated for me exactly what you had said throughout the entire evening. Just, you know, yes, there's a lot of frustration, but man, you're excited about getting back out there, being with the kids, coaching football, letting the seniors, you know, have a season. It's huge, you know, and as bad as I feel for the seniors from last year that didn't get to finish the spring and have their graduation, I mean, this has the potential for being even more disruptive for the incoming seniors. So I'm glad that there's some plans in place to have as much of a normal season as possible. And we certainly wish y'all all the luck, and you've got all the supporters you need here. If we can be at the games, we'll be at the games. And we're looking forward to the season. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for staying late. Really appreciate it.
You bet, guys. I appreciate y'all so much. I'm looking forward to some hot dogs at some point. As soon as they let us do it, we'll have you guys out and get a chance to be around the kids a little bit. Okay?
Absolutely. Sounds good, Coach.
Thanks, fellas.
All right. Michael, thanks for getting that put together. And again, sorry we couldn't be, you know, doing this face-to-face at Backcountry with some barbecue and some adult beverages, but appreciate those of you who joined us tonight, and thank y'all for sticking around late as well. Our next meeting will be Thursday, August 6th at 7 p.m. Program TBD. Watch for updates in the newsletter and the link to the Zoom. Don't forget the auction. The silent auction will run from August 9th to August 14th, and then there will be the live virtual auction on Saturday, August 15th. Unofficially, if you're comfortable gathering with some friends and neighbors and promoting that, and you know, getting everybody on their own devices to jump in and bid and participate in that auction, I think that would be great. Don't think the club can formally endorse that given the current situation, but it was something that we had considered before there was kind of the spike in cases and things in Dallas County kind of got closed down again, you know, meetings of more than 10 and all that. So, you know, if you're comfortable doing something, you know, I think it would be fun to do something. I'm probably going to try to get something together because we need to support that. It's going to be a lot of fun. As I mentioned earlier, Jimmy and his committee have got some really great items that really should, you know, bring some dollars in for the club. As I mentioned about our board meeting, we're exploring some other fundraising options, but for now, it's likely that this will be the only fundraiser for calendar year 2020. So it'll be important to to make it as big and successful event as possible. I didn't mention it earlier, but the official notification went out this week about Oktoberfest being canceled. It's on the Facebook and Twitter and elsewhere. I say canceled, it's postponed. You know, we're going to have the 10th anniversary Oktoberfest in the fall of 2021. As my granddad used to say, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. And I think that's about it. Get out, support your local businesses. OHB is hurting right now with the crazy inconsistent ruling from the TABC about what can and can't be open. They're doing a little protest happy hour out at their facility this evening. I don't know what time that's going to shut down. I had thought about going out there and may still, but you know, get out and support our local businesses. We want them around when we're finally not on as locked down a situation as we are now. So unless there are other comments, announcements that I've missed, we will adjourn, and I will see you all on August the 6th, 7 p.m. Thank you.